Home service business owners, I want to talk to you today about something that's super important. You've got to stop flying blind. Let's track these 14 metrics weekly to improve your revenue and make a lot better decisions in your business. In this video, I'm going to show you the 14 metric weekly pulse system that separates the top home services operators from everyone else. By the end, you'll have a foundational dashboard that tells you exactly where you're leaking revenue and what to fix first and how to stop bleeding money every single month, how to improve your marketing, all of those details. We're going to go over those. So the two questions I have is, are you running your home service business off gut and just basic revenue reports? Are you wondering why your competitors seem to be growing faster while you're stuck guessing at what is working? What you'll get from this video is the 14 metric weekly pulse system to start tracking, how to identify revenue leaks before they become disasters, and a dashboard that tells you key metrics for key decisions, and why the top companies track these metrics religiously. Here's the brutal truth about home service companies. Are operating completely blind. They're using siloed data from CRM, ad platforms, and just basic reports. They're missing massive revenue opportunities, and they don't know where the money leaks are happening until it's just too late. If any of this sounds familiar to you, you need this system. You don't know which marketing channels are driving the most revenue. If you don't know what your customer acquisition cost is and what it is by channel, if you're not tracking your close rate by lead source, you're spending money but can't tie it to actual revenue and jobs that came in. You don't know where to spend more money to get more jobs. You're making decisions based on feelings instead of data. If that is all true, then you're probably operating blind and losing money every single day and every single week. But here we have the weekly revenue pulse. This is going to show you exactly what's going on in your revenue system, what to fix, help you make decisions based on data and not just feelings, and identify problems before they cost you thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Caveat one, this is not an exhaustive list of all the metrics you should be tracking. The purpose of this is to get you going on tracking so you're able to make better decisions around your marketing and sales. Caveat two, setting up these numbers is going to take a lot of work and some time to set up. Once you have the tracking set up, it's up to you to make sure it's updated on a regular cadence. And this video doesn't go into super detail about how to set up each tracking metric, but we're going to discuss what they are. There'll be later videos discussing how to track certain metrics that might be a little bit more complex. These metrics answer these 15 questions. How many leads did you get? Where did those leads come from? How much money did you spend to get those leads? When you're capturing them, how many of those leads actually booked appointments? How many appointments did you book total? How many did you actually run? So was there any that was canceled? Speed to lead, so how many calls did you miss? How many calls did you call back in under 1 minute? How much money in estimates did you generate? What percentage of your estimates are actually closing? How much money did you close from those estimates? How many estimates are sitting out there waiting for follow-up? This is all about money. What's the average revenue size of each job? Which channel closed the most money? How much did it cost you to get a new customer? Total and by channel. These are extremely important metrics and questions to be answered on a weekly and a monthly basis. Let's dig into some of these metrics. The foundation metrics, these are non-negotiable. You've got to be tracking your revenue, your total leads, leads by channel, appointments booked total and by channel, so how many appointments came from what channels, and your booking rate, the percentage of inbound leads that actually turned into appointments. This is very, very important that you at least start tracking here. Now I'm going to go over 14, but if you do nothing else after watching this video, at least tracking these numbers will give you a good starting place. Now, conversion metrics, this is where most companies are bleeding money. Okay, you had appointments booked, but how many did you actually run? Open estimates, total outstanding, plus new this week. I've seen companies with $2 million in open estimates just sitting there, not being followed up with. This is a crucial piece that you need to figure out, and you want to know how many estimates are out there. Average ticket. Is your average ticket, average job size going up or going down? What's your close rate overall? And close rate by channel, because it might be a little bit different. You might realize that there's certain channels where you're closing much higher percentage. So let's go into a little bit more details around those. So appointments run, how you would calculate that is appointments actually completed divided by appointments that were booked times 100. So if you actually ran 34, but you had 40 booked, then you had 85% show rate. Industry average is 75 to 85%. People are going to cancel on you and not reschedule. You want to minimize that and improve your cancellation rate. If there is a big gap here, then you've got scheduling or follow-up problem that you need to address. Open estimates. Total estimates outstanding plus new ones created this week. Red flag, if this number just keeps growing and growing and growing and you have just millions and millions of dollars in open estimates, something's wrong with your sales process and you need to take a look there. Here's an action for you. Follow up on estimates older than 7 days immediately today. Follow up on all of them. Text them, email them, call them. Average ticket size. So it's total revenue divided by number of jobs completed. So let's just say this week there was 65K in revenue divided by 10 jobs. So 6,500 average ticket size. Is this trending up or is this going down over time? Close rate. Here's the formula. Jobs sold divided by estimates given times 100. So you closed 14 jobs. You gave 40 estimates. That's a 35% close rate. That would be good. You want to track this overall. So just overall, how many estimates were given, how many jobs were sold. And then you want to break it down by channel. So you might realize that Google Ads or direct mail or something is converting at a much higher rate. Industry benchmarks 30 to 45%. Improving your close rate is one of the most important levers you can actually pull to improve and make more money. So spending time looking and tracking your close rate, if you're at 35% and you're going down to 20% for a month, that's going to significantly impact your revenue. So you need to be keeping a close eye on that and trying to work to improve that. Now let's talk about some performance metrics. These are really what separate the pros from amateurs. Obviously, if you're spending money on ads, you need to be tracking how much you're spending by channel. So how much did you spend? Then you're going to compare that to revenue generated from each channel. So it's going to give you your return on ad spend. You've got to track your revenue generated by channel. So how much money came in from each of the channels. Compare that with your ad spend. Then you determine your ROAS. CAC by channel. I'm going to go into a little bit more depth about working CAC versus fully loaded CAC. But essentially, we're trying to answer the question of how much did it cost to acquire a new customer? Now, you could do that with just the marketing spend. The fully loaded would be all your costs associated with getting a lead. Now, if you're a business owner wanting to know how profitable it actually is, you've got to track that. You want to know, like, how much am I spending on sales commissions, CSRs, technology related to agency fees, any type of fees associated with getting customers. And I'll break that down a little bit more, but working CAC is also good for helping optimize campaigns, so seeing where that's actually being spent. So you take your total marketing spend, you divide that by new customers, then you do that by channel. All the channels are going to be a little bit different. And I'm going to go into more detail on the next slide on CAC. Percentage of missed calls returned in 1 minute. Speed is everything in home service, so how many people were called back in time? So to calculate that, how many calls were returned within 1 minute divided by total missed calls times 100. So let's just say you missed 20 calls, but you called those back in under 1 minute, and 14 of those you called in under 1 minute, that'd be 70%. This is really important to keep track of. There's a lot of businesses that are missing calls and not calling people back, or they're calling people back 4 or 5 hours later, or maybe even the next day. This is too late. Customer acquisition cost, or CAC. This is very important metric. It deserves its own video because it is complicated and there's a lot of intricacies that you need to figure out. But in this video, I want to talk about working CAC, fully loaded CAC, and give you like a baseline definition of what those is and some examples. Working CAC is going to be great for measuring your campaign efficiency. Fully loaded is essential for measuring profitability and scale. You could be running a campaign that you think is killing it, but then when you actually factor in commissions, CSRs, tech pay, whatever it is, all that stuff, you might actually be losing money. And so this is really important to keep an eye on. So your working CAC, the cost to acquire a customer based on direct marketing spend only. That would include, obviously, your ad spend on the platforms. If you're paying an agency, if you're doing direct mail, what are those costs, or any lead generate, like fees associated. You're going to exclude like sales commissions, CSR wages, software tools, any overhead. So if you spend $10,000 on ads, you get 25 customers, working CAC, $400. Fully loaded CAC, this is the true cost to acquire a customer, including all marketing and sales and support expenses tied to that acquisition. So you're going to include everything in the working CAC plus sales commissions, CSR time, like they had to answer the call, they had to intake it, follow up, book it. And there is some caveat. You probably don't want to, obviously they're not spending all their time doing that. So if they're doing other stuff, you might want to just take like 50% of their wages and time, depending on how much time they're doing that. Marketing software tools, your CRM, ServiceTitan, all that stuff, creative costs associated, anything, any overhead tied directly to getting the lead. So here's an example. You've got your ad spend is $10,000, your sales commission was $3,000. CSR wages, 50% allocated is $2,000. Software and tools, $1,000. So your fully loaded CAC is $320. So this is what it would look like to see your fully loaded. You want to use both. Working CAC for testing, optimization, see what's going on there. Fully loaded when you're budgeting, forecasting, trying to see where you're actually profitable. You're going to want to use both. Pro tip, if your CAC is rising, you don't just blame ads or marketing. You need to check your close rates by channel. You need to look at your CSR performance, so listen to the calls. Maybe text, not converting service calls into installs, something like that. Capacity issues, maybe jobs booked too far out. It could be a lot of things to look into. Don't just automatically blame marketing and advertising. These 14 critical metrics form the backbone of your weekly revenue pulse. By tracking them, you're going to gain a lot of clarity into your business's performance, and it will allow you to quickly identify areas of strength or weaknesses and pinpoint where revenue is actually being lost and where you can improve. So here are the 14 metrics. Revenue closed, total leads, leads by channel, appointments booked, booking rate, appointments run, open estimates, average ticket size, close rate, ad spend by channel, revenue by channel, CAC by channel, missed calls, percentage of missed calls returned in 1 minute. This is an area where you might want to pause, write these down so that you can start tracking these yourself. Now, there's going to be a lot of work on your end to get these together to actually start tracking, but this is super valuable. The shocking truth is that there's so many companies that are not tracking any of this stuff. The top companies are tracking this stuff. You start high level and then you're getting very deep, right? Where the iceberg, you can't even tell, right? You just see the top is revenue and maybe total leads. Obviously, this is your lifeline, right? But the deeper you go, you don't realize how much is actually below the surface. There's open estimates, there's close rates, there's CAC, all this stuff, all these metrics. And so to have a total handle on your business and be able to make decisions, this is going to give you greater control and a greater idea of what's actually working, what's not working, where you need to make improvements. These details will help you make important critical decisions. Now, obviously, there's so much more to even track, but if you want to go deeper, revenue by service type, jobs completed, repeat versus new customer ratio, labor utilization, weekly review count. How many reviews are you getting every week? There's so many more metrics to add on to this, but to become a top operator, you've got to track this stuff. So what are your next steps? You need to track what matters, optimize what's broken, then scale what's working. Your competitors probably still operating off of gut feel, while you can have a data-driven advantage. If you're ready to stop flying blind and this feels overwhelming, you can book a call with me and we can get this set up for you. Stop letting another week go by without knowing where your revenue is coming from and how you're actually doing. If you want to help setting this up, reach out. I'd be happy to set up a call with you.